and I'm going to bring in, for a bit of a sort of shift in direction and sort of change in topic at this point, Jamie from insurers Verlingue, because I think insurance too is inevitably front of mind for a lot of business leaders at this time. I know in our own board of directors at West London Business, it's been on the agenda for our recent board meeting. So I think we're going to explore with Jamie over the next 10 minutes or so. And we're going to bring up on screen some of the themes I'm hoping that we can cover off fairly quickly. Business interruption insurance, what's happening there. Unoccupied premises, what we all need to be thinking about. Remote working, its implications for insurance. Layoffs, redundancies. What does that mean? And then also, if you have issues cropping up with forecasts moving around significantly at this time, how is that best handled? So business interruption insurance, Jamie. What are your thoughts on the potential or not of making a claim following the outbreak?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. And that's a really good question, Andrew. Actually. It's actually the question we're getting most often, and the government, solicitors, accountants seem to be providing quite a bit of advice to businesses around business interruption insurance. And what I would say is, with respect to the advice coming out of that, is speak to your insurance professional, because it's not clear cut as maybe some is being reported out there. The truth is that it's quite unlikely that you'll be able to make a business interruption claim for the COVID-19 outbreak. And the reason for that is that within most insurance policy wordings, human infectious disease is actually specified. And as you'd imagine, COVID-19 is not actually a specified disease, and that's because a few months ago we hadn't even heard of it, so insurers couldn't write it into their wording. There are one or two policies out there that don't actually specify human disease, and they encapsulate any human infectious disease. However, they're quite rare, and the ones we're seeing tend to be capped within a limit. So the truth is that making a business interruption claim following this outbreak is probably not going to be fruitful for many businesses. What I would say is that I'm speaking quite generically, and the people to speak to are insurance professionals on this. If there's anyone out there that's unsure, I'm happy to maybe check for you. You'd have to have a look in your policy wording. There's a few areas that you need to look at. So, if anyone out there wants me to have a look, please just ask Andrew for my contact details.
Thank you. That's a generous support, and you might have a flood of emails now from viewers and WLB members asking you to pore over their policies. But I suppose critical really that folk, if they are unsure, talk to their broker and kind of start to get into the nitty gritty of the policy, but maybe also seek an independent view. I'd imagine too that moving forward, this could be a focus for a lot of people in buying new insurance, that we start to think more broadly about the risks that we need covered.
Correct. Yeah, I think in general, most policies do have an infectious disease extension. However, as I said, it is specified. So unfortunately, COVID-19 is not on there. Some policies may well start moving away from that. However, it's important to remember that if everybody has suffered following this outbreak, there's not a business that has been protected from it really. And if the insurance companies paid every single claim, there actually wouldn't be an insurance industry after this outbreak, so no one would actually be able to get insurance. I think that's key for people to remember.
And I suppose what we're seeing, frankly, in the all the schemes that we've talked through this morning that the government is launching, is in effect society as a whole kind of self-insuring and getting money back into the economy now to make sure that it keeps moving forward. Now, the next theme that we were going to I think sort of challenge you on was this question of unoccupied premises, because of course we've now got so many people working from home. How's that likely to affect our policies?
Yeah, it definitely will affect your policies, and within all policy wordings there's something known as an unoccupancy condition, and within an unoccupancy condition within a policy, they're quite strict parameters, and at the moment the typical parameters are, if your property is going to remain unoccupied for 30 days, then you need to make some provisions within the property. You need to check it regularly, potentially shut off water, gas, electricity, and even make security provisions. What I would say is we've challenged, as a business, Verlingue have challenged the insurers on behalf of our policyholders to negotiate more favourable terms in that respect. We don't know how long we're going to have to stay away from our offices and businesses, and 30 days might simply not be long enough. And more importantly, the provision around checking the property regularly might just be unworkable. We all might be, isolating and certainly on lockdown. So what I would say is, again, your insurance professional out there should be challenging the insurance companies to relax this where possible. And we're certainly seeing insurers helping as much as they can in this respect. And typically we're getting that extended to 90 days, and even the provision around checking the property regularly relaxed. So again, let your insurance company know, let your insurance professional or insurance broker know, and ask them to seek extensions to any unoccupancy condition. And importantly, ask them to ensure that full cover continues, because quite often cover will be reduced when the property is unoccupied. So again, ask them to get full cover maintained whilst you're not occupying your business premises.
Very, very helpful, Jamie, very helpful. Now, of course, as we said, lots of us now working from home. How is business insurance affected by that kind of shift in our sort of working patterns?
Yeah, I think realistically, what we're seeing is a lot of people saying our employees are taking laptops and computers and screens home, and obviously that is not covered in the homes of your employees. When you set up your insurance, fixed office equipment is insured in the office only. So again, it's important to speak to your insurance brokers and insurance companies and let them know that office equipment is leaving the business premises, it's going to the homes of your employees, and ask them to extend cover for that. Really, what I would say is that from an employer's liability point of view as well, that as businesses, you all still have a duty of care to your employees. So it's important that even if they are working from home, that you check on them regularly. You offer them any help and support whilst they're working from home. Mental health is a big issue, obviously, at the moment, and especially employees that are working in isolation, potentially on their own. It's important to pick up the phone to them and mention to them that you're still thinking about them. It's not out of sight, out of mind, and reassure your staff as well that you're looking to keep everyone employed.
Really, really helpful reflections there. And in that sort of worst case scenario, which I think one of our sort of questioners was sort of alluding to earlier, where companies become insolvent, maybe they then have to move to just simply not trading and closing their doors. Do you cancel your insurance cover? Can you get any sort of refund?
I mean, technically you can cancel your cover, but what I would say is I personally wouldn't say it's wise. We don't know how long this is going to last for, and the first thing to mention is cancellation conditions within insurance policies can be quite heavily weighted towards the insurance company. So you could cancel your policy, let's say you're 6 months through, and you could cancel your policy and get a 25% refund, for example, and then in 2 or 3 months time you'll need to set up that cover again, and it actually was financially unviable cancelling it in the first place. The other thing to mention is there are compulsory insurances out there that by law you must maintain. So motor insurance and employers' liability insurance, for example, you must continue to maintain those. And lastly, management liability insurance is vital. In these times, management liability will cover claims, directors and officers claims, and employment practice liability claims, which are claims made by your employees against the business, which could happen if you're laying staff off, for example. So it's important to maintain these covers that are going to provide you with legal defence costs as well.
And of course, quite a few businesses, may well move into that not trading status for a few months. Hospitality firms, for example, where they're furloughing staff, but of course, as we talked about earlier in the programme, those staff are still on payroll. So as you're sort of pointing to, important to maintain that employer's liability insurance through that sort of furloughed period.
Yeah, definitely, because we don't really know how that's going to be affected yet. It's a unique situation for all of us. So really important to continue to maintain compulsory insurances and any insurances that are going to provide you with legal defence costs.
And a final question from me before I perhaps see whether any further questions have come in for Pim to bring to our panel. When it comes to insurance sort of renewal, where obviously you kind of share various kind of forecast figures on business turnover, payroll, etc. If that shifts, can that data be adjusted with your insurer after renewal?
Yeah, this is something that we're really getting involved in at the moment. We're trying our best to help our policyholders. And as you mentioned, Andrew, businesses generally provide wage roll turnover and gross profit or gross revenue figures when they renew their insurances. And that would have been based on a much more positive outlook for most businesses. So what we're doing to assist our clients with premium reductions is asking them to readjust their figures and obtain return premiums. Obviously, if your renewal has been in the last few months, that will certainly be of benefit. And what we're finding is insurance companies are being very helpful in this respect and providing return premiums to the policyholders, because essentially, they are not looking at such a positive outlook now, and the premium that they paid was based on that outlook. So it's only fair that following this downturn, they pay the relevant premium for that. So definitely get in touch with your insurance broker and speak to them and say to them, look, our outlook is less bleak. Can we reduce our estimates? What I would quickly say, just before I finish, is there are a couple of other insurances. Motor insurance. What we're doing at Verlingue is speaking to our customers that have big motor fleets. I know there are a few out there and potentially a few listening. And a lot of people aren't using vehicles at the moment. So if you sawn them off the road with the DVLA, you can actually get a reduced premium for that, and we can reduce cover. Somebody messaged me on LinkedIn, a listener messaged me on LinkedIn yesterday and asked about travel insurance. Again, it's important to mention that travel insurance is still paying medical expenses claims, but only if you're travelling in accordance with government advice, which isn't to many places at the moment. No. So yeah, definitely speak to your insurance brokers, speak to us if you're not sure. We can help on any of those points and helping reduce your costs.
Thank you, Jamie. So kind of clear message there of kind of thinking broadly, thinking across the full range of insurances, and just kind of exploring whether there are perhaps some sensible savings to be had. Now, I'm going to just finally turn back to Pim for one last question, perhaps, to our panel.
Hi, Andrew. A question for Jamie. Is it possible that insurers will put the premium up if the property is unoccupied, but the business wants the full level of insurance?
So did you catch that, Jamie?
Yeah, I caught that. Look, I would say that it is possible. However, I think it would be very unlikely in in these times. What we're seeing is insurers being very helpful. Very helpful indeed. Certainly, we've got very good relationships with our insurers at Verlingue, so I think a lot will be bound by that. But no, I should hope that an insurer would take a positive stance, and if you are going to leave your business premises, if it is going to be unoccupied, they should keep cover the same, and they shouldn't be increasing the premium.
Thank you, Jamie.